Introducing our 2022 beautiful Raw Beauty Ambassadors.
Hi, my name is Herbertia, and I'm a survivor, better yet, a thriver of triple-negative breast cancer. In fact, let me start with August of 2015. I'm sitting and watching a TV show with my 4-year-old, and I say, Audrey, come sit on Mama's lap. And when she does, she bumps her head up against my breast. And I'm like, oh, Audrey, that hurt. And that's when I feel the knot. I'm thinking, figment of my imagination, this isn't a breast cancer knot. So then I ask my husband, I say, come feel this, baby. What does this feel like to you? And this is gonna sound really comical, but he was like, no. And I was like, you don't feel the knot? He was like, well, maybe. And my siblings, I have 2 siblings that are in the medical field. And so one of them is an OBGYN. So I called her and I said, well, it feels kind of like a walnut or something. She was like, it's probably benign. Doesn't run in our family, but you should go and get it checked out. That was August of 2015. So what's fascinating is I forgot all about it. I was living life. I was busy being a mother and a wife and a professional woman. I just forgot. I was busy doing life. And then I had a health coach who was helping me manage some diabetes that I had. And I recalled right around October, I was like, the next time we check in, I need to be held accountable for making sure I go and get my mammogram, because I was so busy last year, I just opted out of it because it doesn't run in my family, I don't need to do it. Surely enough, on October 8th, went and got the scans done, and the doctor, of course, was a little reserved in telling me if he saw anything. He just said, I think you need to follow up. So I followed up, he saw something, he referred me to someone else. Ultimately, I ended up in a breast cancer surgeon's appointment for biopsy. She took it, and then on October 19th, 2015, I'm in the appointment with my husband because he was my ride or die, my best friend. And I hear the words from my breast cancer surgeon, Ms. Gilmore, you have triple negative breast cancer. And for a living, I'm a crises manager. So I'm used to multitasking, not being emotional, processing information based on fact, implementing a strategy and a tactic, and moving forward. So that's how that appointment was for me. My husband's sitting there saying, are you okay? And I'm like, I got this. This is another crisis to manage. However, after that appointment, we got in the car and I said, we need to go to wig shop. My husband was like, why? I was like, because I'm not gonna have a mental health breakdown over hair. So you get to come with me, pick the wig out, and we will move on from there. However, I wasn't in touch with the emotional side of what happened. It was another task to manage and move forward in. But what was fascinating and such a tremendous blessing, 2 days later, I'm in the grocery store picking up items for a work event. And I see breast cancer cupcakes. And I think I will bring them for my colleagues to eat. I just happened to be on the phone with my sister. And I said, yes, that's what I'll do. And my sister says, now Herbertia, I'm gonna need you to think that through. What do you want them to do? Celebrate with you that you just got diagnosed with breast cancer? I was like, well, no. She was like, put the breast cancer cupcakes down. Put them down now. And I was like, but I'm okay. I got this, Melba. I'm fine. She was like, you're not fine. And it's okay not to be fine. And I walked back, put them back, and I cried in the grocery store because I thought my feelings and emotions and my rational side were incongruent with the experience that I was going through. However, I then scheduled my appointments, got my port. I did neoadjuvant chemotherapy. That didn't work. I had a lumpectomy, and I was declared cancer-free on March 18, 2016. And then my oncologist said, well, since we don't know the source of where your cancer stemmed from, why don't we give you some post-chemotherapy drugs for possibly uterine cancer or colon cancer? And that chemotherapy, though, it kicked me. It was challenging. So I spent about 2 years on a literal doctor's appointment cancer experience and journey. And then right around the summer of 2017, I was a survivor. No more appointments. Had done my radiation, had done the lumpectomy. And then I had to figure out what to do next. And for me, it was actually more challenging to experience survivorship than it was the actual appointments, because that was something I could focus in on. It was a task, I could accomplish it, and then it was done. But then after that, I was left with, now I got to figure out how to go on living. And I'm a Christian. So yes, during this experience, did I trust God? Yes. Did I listen to Travis Green, Made a Way, on repeat multiple times? Did I have my scriptures? Oh, yes. Did I have support groups? Yes. Did I eat healthy? Yes. Was I fatigued and tired and all the impacts of the drugs and the experience? Did I have that? Did I go to therapy? Yes, I did. Did I go to church and pray? Yes, I did. But then all of a sudden in the summer of 2017 on, I had to figure out how to pick my life back up after having the trauma of this diagnosis and the trauma of fighting it. And even having my oncologist say, well, the drugs didn't work for me. And the type of cancer you have, it might come back. And then I had to say, okay, God, we're on a separate but distinct journey, but I still need you and I need you more now. So I sit here almost about to cry, but I'm not going to cry. Because it's been 5 years since my diagnosis, 6 years since my diagnosis, 5 years since I've been declared cancer-free. Why is that significant? Because most Latinos and women of color are diagnosed as triple negative breast cancer patients, which means that the 3 types of cancers that most women get, I don't have them. They don't know how I got it. And I did the DNA testing. It doesn't run in my family. I didn't test positive for it. So the significance of me being here today and to talk to you and encourage you is that the thing God told me during my fight was he was faithful to me. And not that he was faithful in the past, and not that he wasn't faithful in the moment that I was experiencing, but he remains faithful. And he hasn't stopped being faithful, and he will not stop being faithful, even if it comes back. Even if I have to fight again, he still remains faithful. And what does that mean for me now? That I just saw my breast cancer surgeon a month ago, and a couple weeks ago, and he said, Ms. Gilmore, you can see me once a year now because you've gotten over that 5-year mark. That means the same tools, I call them in my bag of tricks, that God allowed me to access and use during the diagnosis, during the treatment, during the initial stages of survivorship. I still got to keep them. I still got to access them. I still got to use them because I still got to trust him. But the blessing is he still remains faithful. God remains faithful came out of my favorite scriptures, Proverbs 3:5-6, which is to trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways, acknowledge him. He'll direct your path. So that's always been my favorite scripture, but it had no meaning during this experience. The other one that was powerful was Exodus 14:14. God will fight for you. You just need to be still. And for me personally, I'm a doer, I'm task oriented. I get stuff done. I'll walk to a wall and say, let's make this happen. This was not that moment. This was go sit down somewhere and let the medicine take effect. Go sit down somewhere and let your husband minister to you as your partner. So for me, the being still was critical because I'll be honest with you, in my lifestyle as a woman of color, I'm busy doing things and I'm active and I'm involved and I don't stop. But cancer forced me, just kind of like COVID, to stop, breathe, sit, and take in the moment and let God do his work. So those 2 scriptures, Exodus 14:14, the being still part was key. But my favorite one was I still had to trust him. The actual litmus test for who God is in my life didn't change. Just the facts and the scenarios did. But the fact that I still had to trust him remained the same. Because I've now crossed over the 5-year threshold mark, I am excited about thinking about breast cancer, concerning myself with its reoccurrence, isn't in the top 10 list of things I need to marinate on. Still there, but it isn't a priority. So now I get the opportunity to recalibrate what ministry work I want to do and how do I want to show up in the workplace? How do I want to show up for my brothers and sisters in the faith? I know this next year, and actually the last 90 days of this year are going to be very, very powerful for me. because I am recalibrating how I am to position myself to strengthen the body of Christ. I'm a trained attorney. I have worked in higher education for 26 years. I just made a pivot with COVID in that I was working as what's called a Title IX coordinator. So it's interesting that I'm sitting here amongst women that are having different diverse experiences as it relates to harm, sexual violence, sexual assault, domestic violence. So for a period of 6 to 7 years, that's what I did in a higher ed context. But I took a pivot this year, and I decided to work in employment law and human resources. So right now I'm doing employee relations, workplace dispute resolution. And so I believe in the workplace, God has equipped me uniquely to problem solve, and to problem solve from a place of equipping others with resources, and to not make the decision for them, but to at least give them options and information so that they can make choices that empower themselves at the time and the place they should. But it's primarily in the workplace. So I'll tell this very wonderful anecdotal story that was very powerful, that the Lord used her. So I'm heading to a doctor's appointment, and she's in the back seat. She was only 3.5 when the diagnosis occurred, and 4-ish when I was in treatment. And she's in the back, and of course, there's lots of Disney movies. And out of the blue, she breaks out singing, "Let it go," song from Frozen. Can't hold it back anymore. And I'm like, I'm like, Audrey, what you singing? She's like, Mommy, it's one of my favorite songs. And I said, well, let me go find it on the phone. Sang that song almost as if it was scripture, but it wasn't, of course. It was a Disney song. But for me, as a woman of color, raised by a single parent, a stoic mother, a very strong mother, who has raised 3 African-American women. One's an oncologist, one's a dentist, and one's an attorney. We don't take prisoners when it comes to crises. And we don't have time to schedule in tears. But that moment when my daughter started singing, I was like, well, Lord, sometimes you use the secular to inform the spiritual. And I pulled over to the side, I downloaded the song, and Audrey Grace and I sang that song till I learned the lyrics. And that was one of my theme songs, which was to let it go. Be okay with letting what you're holding on the inside out, because there is no space for not accepting this is the experience I'm in, and this is what has happened. Now, as a mother, do I think that there have been any residual impact on my daughter because of the diagnosis and thankfully my thriving now? Yeah, there has been. The blessing is I see in her now a fight that I may have unconsciously been unaware of that she took on by watching me fight. But what she also sees is a mommy and daddy that work together. So what I want to share with those that may hear my story is my husband attended every doctor's appointment with me. We made my chemotherapy treatment sessions date day. So guess what that meant? That meant it was sweet. Where I was receiving the treatments, they gave us a private room. So literally, he'd bring his tablet, we'd watch a movie. I'd go on the Groupon coupon after I got my treatment, and we would go out to eat. And so every doctor's appointment, I was never alone. And I had my best friend by my side. And when the treatments got really bad and I couldn't walk and my skin was pitch black dark and the medicine I was taking had made my hands and feet like tissue paper. And so I couldn't walk. And my daughter would say, Mommy, you're hobbling like a duck. My husband covered me and covered my daughter's mental well-being. So she is aware of it now at 9, but at 4 and 5, she didn't think it was odd, but she had no clue the fight that I was in and the fight that God had covered me in because I had support. I had married well, little did I know. And God had equipped my husband to protect me spiritually, but also just naturally while I was going through this fight. So yeah, I was in the middle of treatment, and at least during the neoadjuvant chemotherapy treatments, I didn't have many of the side effects. I had primarily 2. I lost my appetite, and then I had extreme fatigue. And I remember visiting my mother one day just because, and my mother's a fighter. She's a go-getter. I mean, and so nothing of what she was doing was wrong, but she wasn't fully available to me because she had scripted how I should have shown up. And so I remember the day I went to visit her in Richmond. I get up, I try to eat, didn't really have an appetite, and then I go back and take a nap. So I probably took 3 or 4 naps. And one day she came, during that visit, she came upstairs and she was like, "You are not fighting. I need you to fight." And I said to her, I said, "Mama, here's the problem. This is what this fight looks like right now. It looks like fatigue. And it's in my spirit to fight. I still know God's got me." I said, "But right now, the fight isn't necessarily going to be 10 scriptures. Right now, it might just be I'm exhausted. And I don't feel like crying because I'm just exhausted." And she apologized. And she was like, "I'm sorry. I thought I knew what you needed." So I would say to anyone who's diagnosed in the middle of it, wait to find out what that person is asking for. And if they don't say anything, if they say they don't know, sit still in the silence and just be present. That's all you need to do is just be present. Or it could be as simple as them saying, "I don't know, I'm not sure." And then you just say, "Well, I'm gonna keep checking on you." And checking on could be a text message. Checking on them could be a gift card. Checking on them could be checking in with the spouse or the child. It can be passive things, or it can be as simple as prayer. All of that was key for me. And then there were some places where I felt emotionally safe, where I was like, "I'm just mad. Why God allowed this to happen? No, I'm his child. He did this to me." And then eventually it was no. The word doesn't say as a Christian that I'm not going to go through stuff. It says he will be there with me while I go through it. So I don't need to act like I'm opted out from challenges. So over time, it was like, no, that's the challenge God got for me. Now, if the end result is death, he still got me, he still had me, he still fought for me, he was still in this with me. Right. And if it's a full, complete delivery, a healing, he still got me, he still covered me. But I couldn't get focused on the outcome. I had to just trust him in the process. And that was the other thing he said, trust me in the process. I forgot that one. Trust me in the process was key, because you can't micromanage the outcome. But you can say, he didn't drop me, he didn't take a lunch break, nor sabbatical. He stayed in there with me. Hi, I'm Herbertia, and I'm Raw Beauty